All right, welcome everybody to House Party 5v5's third game of the night in our Saturday League Championship Series. I'm your host, Anson. With me in the co-caster's chair is a very talented man. Say hello to White and Nerdy 42.
What's up, everybody?
All right, we're going to be handling your commentary for this game. Bans coming out from both sides now. Looks like Hands of God going to take away Zed, and no surprise, Trismegetsu going to deny the swing to Penguins. The Aurelia going to be next in line to fall. Like we were talking about last game, Aurelia just the champion that a lot of House Party 5v5ers, House Partiers as I like to call them, really seem to know their way around. So it's a good solid all the way around ban. Zach looks like Sejuani as well, and we've got our bans in place.
Well, we have seen Sejuani in the first two games of this, and looked pretty good when she get a good ult off. So all in all, it's a pretty solid ban.
It's such a great ultimate. It was so undervalued for such a long time. Sejuani, one of the last champions I actually ended up picking up, and only after, of course, the Cinder Hulk came through and she really rose to power. Those nerfs, I don't think hit her very hard at all. Still, definitely a top-rated jungler. Top-performing jungler, as we saw in the last two games. Sejuani being critical to team fights in certain situations. Good all-around ban. I got no disagreements with that ban. The Janna as well, that could be telling of what Trismegetsu are going to be composing this time around. I would not be surprised to see Trismegetsu on the red side pick up a composition that Janna would just absolutely destroy. I do not think that was a targeted ban of a player. I think they were more working toward their own internal composition, and you're seeing an engage already come out from them. The Sivir, the Leona, to get in there and get the work done and lock targets down. A Janna is definitely something you don't want to have on the opposing team. So really good ban for Trismegetsu there.
Yeah, and I think Sivir is a very strong AD carry right now. Does very well against Graves, who's obviously we've mentioned a few times is one of the top AD carries right now. Speaking of which,
yeah, Graves rounds out any comp. He fits so well in everything. Do you need an engage composition? Do you need a kite composition? Do you need upfront heavy burst? Graves just does all of those things so well, and I think with a lot of other AD carries being retooled and sort of taking a back seat, Graves has always been Graves, and he just rose to the top, so no surprise to see him as one of the top 80 carries. Actually didn't end up getting picked this round. Ben, users at home can't see the Chinese characters in his name. We just call him Ben. Ben opting for his Caitlyn here, and Caitlyn's a champion he knows, he's comfortable with, he's done some amazing things on before, so no surprise to see him choosing to lock in that comfort pick. And Caitlyn's another one of those that can go well in a lot of compositions as well. Even in an engage, a heavy engage composition, Caitlyn can still provide that long-range pick-off with the ultimate. It's not the best, but Caitlyn still, I think, in pretty much every composition you could think of, brings something to the table.
yeah, and I think Caitlyn also has a very good lane matchup against Sivir. As long as you don't put those traps out often, just giving her the free mana, then Caitlyn does have a pretty favorable matchup just because of that very long range. And if you want to talk about engage, it looks like Trismegetsu right now is pretty much piling all they have into engage, with every single one of their champions so far having at least one engage ability.
They have got all their chips on the table with this composition, and what do we have left here? We've got, looks like possibly an AD carry, support, top laner, jungler. Who do you mid with this composition? I would like to see a Diana here, actually.
I was actually thinking something like a Lissandra would go very well.
Another
jump
great
right
engage.
You could get rid of, not only great engage, you could also get rid of either the Caitlyn or the LeBlanc right away, at least put them out of the fight for a couple seconds and hopefully have your team. Sivir's pretty damage heavy, plus the Leona passive does a lot.
I'm not
between those.
I'm not sure how the mid lane matchup goes. LeBlanc against a Lissandra. It's one of those I don't have a lot of experience playing with. We'll see how that works out. Omero's still got 13 seconds left on the clock to lock his pick in. I think his team is taking some time to really think this one out.
That works.
Ari definitely would work. Great engage potential, still great damage despite getting retooled a little bit in a previous patch. And looks like definitely going to be locking that one in. So this composition from Trismegetsu, very well thought through. But let's take a look at Hands of God and what they're bringing to the table. You've got the catch potential from the Amumu and the Thresh. You've got big engage potential from the Kennen, and of course Gingerfight's going to be taking the LeBlanc, hopefully to get in on the back line there. Overall, I don't think it works as well as Trismegetsu's does synergy-wise, but still some very frightening, very powerful combinations over on Hands of God.
Yeah, I think the laning phase, it does look like Hands of God has a slight advantage. Having the Kennen ranged in the top lane should be able to poke down Maokai quite a decent bit. The Caitlyn Thresh, obviously a very, very annoying lane to go against. Not to mention LeBlanc can put down some serious hurt. Although I think Ari was a very good pick against a LeBlanc just because of the damage output you can do, not to mention the charm if you can land it against the LeBlanc.
That's one of those skill matchups. How that goes is heavily going to depend on our two mid laners. Gingerfied is an exceptional player when it comes to that mid lane. I have seen him carry games single-handedly, and Omero's no pushover either. He's done very well in our solo ladder, and I'm interested to see his Ari play. I haven't seen too much of it. We'll see what he ends up bringing to the table. As far as jungle goes, it's interesting. Ari Lover, formerly Orange Media, going to be taking that jungle spot. Not a lot that I've seen him do from the jungle. I've mainly seen him play mid, so that's going to be a champion, a role to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Well,
the
folks,
Nocturne we haven't seen too much of. He has some strong engage, CC resistant engage too. It's very all or nothing team comp here, really, from Trismegetsu.
I think the Nocturne feels a little bit forced. I think if you want an engaged jungler that's all in, definitely a Zac. Of course, that one ended up getting banned away from him, but Vi is still very competent as a champion. Rek'Sai, another one that can really get in there. I would have liked to see a Vi here. Vi has two abilities that can straight up engage and catch targets out, and I think that's really what Trismegetsu is going to want to be doing as we start getting into the mid-game skirmishing. They're going to want to isolate and catch out either Ben, Penguins, or Gingerfied, and use that to force an all-in on a 4v5 situation, a power play. Even if they can just give me 2 seconds alone with a soft target on Hands of God, I think that just puts TMG over the top when it comes to these team fights. Well, folks, we are going to be heading into the delay and the load screen. Caster's going to take a short break. While that winds down, we will be back casting all the action once we hit the rift. Thanks again for joining us. Just a quick plug here. Our House Party 3v3 tournament still has slots available. If you have a 3v3 team and you want to get in on the RP prize, it's 3,200 RP and Triumphant Rise that goes to the winner of the tournament. Places 1 through 4 also get RP. We have 5 team slots open right now. We've only had 3 teams apply so far. If you want to get in on that, 3v3 is great fun. It's only going to be a 1-day tournament, best of 1 until the finals, best of 3. So check that out at Battlefly. The link is in the subreddit. I'll go ahead and paste it into the chat for everybody, and we'll see you guys back here in a few seconds. All right, folks, we are back with House Party 5v5's Saturday League. Hands of God on the blue side, Trismegetsu on the red side, and this is shaping up to be quite a game. We've had quite a night already, haven't we, White and Nerdy?
Oh, for sure. It's been a couple of very close games. We saw a 9-minute Lulu pentakill last game, and it was quite the shocker.
That was an interesting dragon fight. The team controlled the dragon the entire game, but I think that pentakill just really got their wheels rolling onto that. Now we're seeing a 5-man cluster here in this brush. It doesn't look like Hands of God are going to be crossing this path, but if they had, that would have been something disastrous. Right now, Hands of God trolling through the jungle on the red buff side of red team's area, not finding anything there. They get some deep wards down and decide to head back to their territory.
Yeah, I think that ward there is actually a really nice placement by Hands of God, just because it really tells a lot of information. Now they know that enemies starting on his blue buff side, which gives, if they so choose to go in for the red buff early, saplings will dissuade them. But
looks like a Gromp start for Trismegetsu. Gonna be double golems for Hands of God. No lane swaps coming through. Looks like Penguins wanted to get a little bit of early vision in that side of the jungle. He's gonna stick around until minions spawn and swing back around, head to his lane, and both sides heading out into the melee to get things started.
yeah, I guess it was thankful in this context that Antonym picked up that Maokai, because he was able to put down a couple of saplings, and that meant that Penguins walked towards the red to try to get more vision, and he just got attacked right away, so Antonym knew that there was someone in the jungle.
Really good flay there from Hellbizzle. They end up putting a lot of damage on Sancanyo. We had a lot of comments in the chat about the bottom lane, and looks like those comments are coming true so far. Ben and Hellbizzle really getting a lot of good early damage down on to TMG here. They're going to have to start playing on the back foot or coming up a little bit more ahead in these trades.
Yeah, hitting that early level 2 means that if they have that hook thread available before, and even a chance of a spell shield or a zenith blade, so it really means, like, right there.
Great hook.
Yeah.
Great play backward. QJQ is going to take a little bit. The Piltover Peacemaker is going to miss Sancanyo, but look at that. Sancanyo sitting on 200 health. There's only 3 minutes and 20 seconds into the game.
And he's already popped his potion, so he has nothing else to heal up from except maybe some relic shield stacks later on.
I think Hands of God definitely have the advantage in lane so far. They've been able to abuse their power spike. They've been able to keep this lane shoved up. They've got one ward river. They're in a good position.
For sure, though, we'll see how it goes once Maokai starts. Once Trismegetsu start picking up some items. Once we start seeing the Rod of Ages come out for Maokai, the Infinity Edge into a Zeal item on Sivir, it's really going to start swiveling back.
Of course, we had the teleport available from both top laners, so we could see some action in this bottom lane here. Antonym he's got the knockback, so he has the ability to cancel the teleport. Penguin's teleport cancellation a little bit more situational, but he certainly has the ability to do that if he presses R, goes all in on Antonym, just with the intention of stopping the teleport.
Yeah, I guess it's not too hard for Penguins, but he is going to have to invest pretty heavily. He could just EQW, but then he'd have to be in really close range now with no escape on Antonym, so.
And that's the thing, he's going to have to stay relatively healthy, because if he goes in and full-on engages Antonym trying to stop the TP, and he isn't sitting on enough health, Antonym could just turn right around, cancel it, and fight him, and end up picking up the kill here. Look at this, he's going in with the Twisted Advance, the sapling, and the knockback there. It gets some good damage on him, so that's exactly what Penguins needed to worry about. Right now, he's not quite healthy enough in order to pressure Maokai. And look at this bottom lane damage. Santenyo and Trismegetsu taking quite a bit of harass on their way back to turret. They're just going to have to continue playing on the back foot.
They're already down. Sankenyo's already down about 10 CS, so that's not going to get any better until they start farming up and getting items or going to team fighting, because the Caitlyn can really put on the hurt.
Yeah, Ben is one of those players really good at maximizing his headshots. You see him every time that a headshot is available and there's an opportunity, he's going to use it. We got the gang coming in here. Ari Lover with the bandage toss lands that on Antonym. Antonym is running back to turret. The flash gets forced out. He's going to be okay, but he's going to have to go back to base. And at this point, Penguin's already pushing up onto that turret, so that's definitely going to mean at least a wave of experience loss. And he's going to be out for about a minute.
On the plus side, Antonym does have enough money. He did have enough money to buy that catalyst, and I was about to say he can just teleport right back to lane, not miss too much experience at all, because it was a siege minion. So thank goodness for teleport. It doesn't mean if there's a dragon fight soon.
Great hook on the QJQ. The follow-up damage is there from Ben. Sankenyo trying to trade a little bit back onto Ben, and takes a good opportunity there. But all in all, a loss again for bottom lane. This is becoming a war of attrition, and it looks like Trismegetsu is falling behind so far.
Yeah, the gold difference isn't bad. Ari, in the mid lane, Mero's doing a very good job of shoving back the LeBlanc, shoving back Gingerfied under tower, where it's very, very hard for LeBlanc to farm, especially at this stage of the game.
The Ginger's one of those players that will pursue every opportunity he has to press an advantage, to create a disadvantage. I'm not surprised to see him doing that. The pushing LeBlanc up on turret is just, it's such a great strategy. Not only does she have trouble farming underneath turret in the early game, but LeBlanc's one of those champions you sort of want to be taking around the map for that world tour buffet, and once you're pushed up against turret, those options are few and far between.
Yeah, so pretty big discrepancy bot lane. 20 CS already in favor of Ben. When he backs, he has enough for a BF sword. It was only a pickaxe able to be picked up by Sankenyo.
That is a huge difference. When you're taking the power of a BF sword against the power of a pickaxe in lane, it makes all the difference in the world. A pickaxe is okay. It's better than nothing, and certainly it's going toward your build path. It's a lot better than being forced into doing a double Dorans. But at the same time, the BF sword, it just hits like a truck. It makes farming so much easier. It allows you to aggressively hyper push the wave, even if both sides are pushing the crud out of a wave. The side with the BF sword is just gonna have the leg up.
And then in the top lane, Antonym is apparently doing some good damage onto Penguins. Penguins looks like it's going for the first item, Abyssal, which is going to delay that Zhonya's that he really wants for those game team fights. That's a very small win up there in the top lane for Trismegetsu, forcing the later Zhonya's.
Some really good damage being traded back here. Both sides in the mid lane being really cautious with one another. Still nobody giving up first blood, and we're 9 minutes in.
It's pretty even all around the board. Slight discrepancies, like you mentioned, in the bot and the top lane, but overall, it's a pretty even game so far.
I think Trismegetsu have done a great job of dealing with their losing situation here in the bottom lane. That's the mark of a good player, is being able to handle situations that are less than favorable. Penguins now going in, pops the ultimate. The advantage toss on an Antonym's going to lock him down. He's running back toward turret, but Penguins and Ari Lover are on his heels. Ari Lover using the ultimate there, and first blood at the 9-minute 30-second mark going to be going over to Ari Lover.
Well, I think part of that can be attributed to a little bit of greediness from Antonym. He popped his ult, his eventual Maelstrom earlier, to try to harass Kennen and get a little bit of extra farm, and that kind of came back to bite him.
Gingerfied with the jukes in the middle lane, ended up getting snagged by Omero. Omero used his ultimate as well there, so that's going to be down. Nocturne going in Gets onto Ben. The fear is going to connect with the follow-up from Trismegetsu and Centennial. The great Solar Flare onto Hellbizzle. That could mean 2 kills for Trismegetsu. Omero coming in with the charm, and enemy bringing up the flank to cut Hellbizzle off. And Centennial is going to get the kill donated to him. That was very good for Trismegetsu. It sets them up for a dragon and puts a little bit more gold into their pocket. So all around, great pickup.
And another big part, I think, is that Sankenyo getting those 2 kills means that he just vaulted past Caitlyn, past Ben in terms of gold.
Ari Lover going in with the bandage toss. He actually gets the dragon steal. What a ballsy move. It paid off. He flashed out of the dragon pit and just said, bye, guys.
And Hands of God able to get some really good harass onto that mid turret with just a little roam from Penguins. No teleport, just walking down to the mid lane, putting some harass on mid tower, and now he's able to just teleport right back to lane to stop Antonin.
That orb hit Gingerfied mid meanwhile and did pop his passive. So he's going to have that down for a little bit. Deciding to go back and purchase. He's going to be bringing that Morello Nomicon back into lane. It looks like Omero's mirroring his build as well, but he's not choosing to go back. I think he's going to want to push this one out a little bit before he purchases.
Yeah, and that Ari LeBlanc matchup, I think one of the reasons it's so favorable for Ari, in addition to just the massive damage and speed boost from the orb, is that both her W and her ult are targeted damage. It doesn't matter how jukey the LeBlanc is. If you go next to her and pop your W and pop your ult, you're going to be hitting.
Ginger really trying to dodge these skill shots, and even when he's been able to juke out about 50% of them, he's still getting quite a bit of his health taken away. And really right now he's being denied the opportunity to roam anywhere. 0, 0, and 0 on his score. He's 10 farm behind.
Yeah, he's down in CS, and he continually, like we were talking about earlier, gets shoved into tower. And that just means that he has to stay. Ideally, the ideal roaming situation is pushing to the opponent's tower and then roaming. Gingerfied does not have that luxury.
I feel like a blue buff would ease that a little bit, but at this point, a lot of early opportunity on the LeBlanc has been squandered, and now he's down by about 20 farm, so things getting just a little bit worse for Gingerfied. He's going to have to think of a way to pull that around and start getting some power underneath his belt so he can begin deleting targets on Trismegetsu. Antonin coming in here to protect his turret. The present goes down, and the wave clear will come through. That forces Penguins to back off. He's not going to be backed off for long. Look at the damage. Throwing his abilities out. Omero getting engaged on here. Throws the abilities out onto Gingerfied. Solar Flare going to hit Ben. Nocturne following up. He's going to get the ultimate down onto Ben with the spear and engage from Ari Lover. Curse of the Sad Mummy hits 3, and Trismegetsu are on the run, but they're dealing plenty of damage on the way up. Sankenyo is very low, sub 200 health. The teleport coming in from the top lane. Maokai going to join the fight. No, he actually ends up canceling it, and Antonin will remain top lane, but that pressure from the teleport buying Trismegetsu's bottom lane enough time to back out.
And I think a big part of that fight was enemy was actually snared by the bandage toss under tower. And he was taking tower aggro, and then Hellbizzle hooked him out of tower range. So he stopped taking tower aggro after that.
Very unfortunate situation right there. Sometimes your opponents, your teammates' abilities just don't work very well. Omero getting some good damage onto Gingerfied, and Antonin being forced to walk underneath turret here. It looks like he's going to have to back. He doesn't have the teleport available. This opens up an opportunity. Penguins could grab his team a turret here. First turret of the game.
Although enemy is up here, he's going to try to defend. Penguins does have his ult available, but nothing much in the way of defense against a Nocturne's damage, so he is going to have to be fairly careful.
That tower sitting so low, just one more wave could be the death of it here. Great boomerang blade. Hellbizzle with the failed death sentence there. would have been a good pickup had he nailed Sankenyo. Sankenyo giving himself plenty of time to put distance between his champion and Hellblazer.
The farm discrepancy has stayed in the bot lane. It's still 27 CS for, oh, we didn't.
Penguins going in here off the Maelstrom, and Antonym is on top of him, though. The amount of damage Antonym is putting out and his innate tankiness is just allowing him to throw Penguins around and not really care about any damage he's putting out. But you see the engage in the bottom lane. Solar Flare going to hit, then forces the flash. Sankenyo is on his backside, throwing those boomerangs into him. He's going to be able to get to turret range before the kill's secured, but up in top lane, the teleport did come through there. Penguins going to reestablish his lane presence, and that's going to let Ari Lover head back up into the jungle. But Summoners did get burned bottom lane, getting out of that situation. Got heal and flash both down for Ben. Exhaust about to come back up for Hellblazer.
And there's the first tower of the game.
Well, the first tower of the game does end up going down. Leona gonna catch Ben out here and grab the kill pretty much solo there. The Death Sentence does land in the bottom lane with no follow-up available. Genderfied flashes in over Romero. He grabs the kill, but enemy is here for the counter engage. Gets some good damage down on him. Genderfied does not have the luxury of the turret. Enemy actually goes back in to get some damage before disengaging. He hit like a truck there. Just one kill and 125 farm under his belt, and he was able to deal quite a significant chunk of damage to enemy.
Yeah, so one thing that I think is going to be really, really helpful for Trismegetsu is the fact that you have two Spell Shield champions here. You have both Sivir and Nocturne. Against a LeBlanc, Spell Shielding is an integral part of stopping that burst.
Looks like Hands of God going to set up for their second dragon. Behind on kills, a little bit behind on gold, but so far have been on top of the dragons. We are seeing the teleport coming in from Maokai in the top lane. Got 3 soft targets here. Nope, 4. Antonym could be biting off more than he can chew. Sankenyo getting chased down by Genderfied, but TJQ and enemy are bringing up the support there. A great boomerang blade, but that pops the clone. Ginger is going to fall here. Ari Lover up next. Sankenyo grabs the double kill. Helldizzle. The focus here and the triple kill going to go over to Sankenyo. Ben is falling very low. Sankenyo going to want to pick up the quad here, but no minions are available. Antonym going to secure that one with the flash, and that is a 4-for-1 exchange in favor of Trismegetsu. They are dictating the pace of this game. Weren't able to get the dragon there, but what a huge pickup off the back of that.
Yeah, the only problem is in the mid lane, you have Penguins. Sure, like they're getting that outer turret Trismegetsu, but Penguins is there. He's getting that inner turret for Hands of God. He's taking it down below half already.
One of the important things in these extended team battles is taking advantage of every opportunity you can to pressure an objective. And really good job from Penguins there. He turned a losing situation into some kind of gain, maybe not a net gain for his team, but he was able to use that to get some more damage onto that inner turret. So far, a good little chunk of Trismegetsu's base has been carved out through this mid lane. We'll see if Hands of God are able to turn that into something a little bit more. They are behind this stage, despite being up 2 dragons. I think Trismegetsu's sitting in a good spot, but they need to be paying attention next time the dragon spawns.
Well, I have to say, item-wise, I love the first item, Righteous Glory, coming out of Antonym. That really synergizes well with the Sivir ult, and it just allows for a massive burst of movement.
Antonym throwing his saplings out. Both top laners getting back into the groove with each other here, but Antonym, he's not taking any damage at all. He's sitting right in the middle of the wave here, and that passive coming through so strong for him. He gains a percentage of his health every time Penguins uses an ability a certain number of times, and with Penguins just chucking abilities out left and right, Antonym, with his innate tankiness, is just able to sustain through so much damage. That gank top lane from Ari Lover not going to produce any results. If they decide to dive here, it could be dangerous. Ari Lover took turret aggro for a little bit there, but that turret was so low, they were able to pick that one up, and Antonym didn't really have an answer for it.
So in the bot lane here, the CS discrepancy is all but eliminated between Ben and Sankenyo. Sankenyo is back within less than 10 now, in addition to those 5 kills.
He's done a good job of picking things up and getting himself back where he needs to be. I think they took a losing situation, made the most of it, and really have come out shining in this mid-game skirmish environment. Take a look at our ward coverage. We've got quite a bit of action going on from Hands of God. Despite being down, they have managed to place wards pretty much all over the map. You've got pink wards, green wards, defensive wards, offensive wards. They've got a good zone of vision coverage, and I really think that Trismegetsu need to step up their game when it comes to that if they're going to match the amount of opportunities that Hands of God's vision is going to create. Alternatively, some sweepers get in there and eliminate these points of vision, would tip things back in the balance toward them as well. But right now they've got the amount of power in their favor. Over 2,500 gold lead at 22 minutes into the game.
Yeah, overall, Getsu vision-wise is playing more of a catch-up game. Just trying to clear the wards that Hands of God has placed down, rather than trying to put too much of their own deep vision.
That could come back to bite them. We'll see if Hands of God are able to take advantage of their vision control. That's it's one of the things about vision. If you can see it and you can't do anything about it, it doesn't really matter.
And I think that it's quite possible that Hands of God might be somewhat eyeing Baron as an next objective. Just judging from their ward coverage, they have more in the river on the top side. In fact, they have none on the river bot side. They're focusing their wards bot lane in their own defensive.
The gang coming in top here. Penguins getting feared by enemy. Gets the dash in onto him. They're chasing him down. Crowd control going to keep him locked into place, and that looked completely effortless for Trismegetsu. A great pickup for them. Surprised Antonym's not sticking around to pressure this turret. He did see the roam coming up from the mid lane. Gingerfied going to be able to save that turret, but at what cost? We got 3 members of Trismegetsu pushing mid now.
Not to mention, Antonym does have that Spirit Visage completed, and before long, he should have the Merc Treads as well, and that will allow him to negate a pretty good amount of LeBlanc damage.
It's going to keep him on top in this top lane as well. Penguins hasn't been able to do much to him all game, and that trend's only going to continue. Some really great ganks coming in from Ari Lover. Here, the bandage toss flash not succeeding there. That was close. Sankenyo felt the wind move on the back of his head.
Paranoia Nocturne Ultimate not available for this fight. So if Hands of God gets the advantage vision-wise and goes in on the dragon, then enemy does not have the hard engage to follow up and get that instant steal. So.
And the Nocturne Ultimate is just so disruptive when it comes to these team fights where you've got a back line that's sitting very far back and a front line that's just up in your face. Once he turns on the Paranoia, it makes it very difficult for Hands of God to be able to see where the big threats on Trismegetsu are at.
Although with Hands of God just kind of trying to stall out and poke a little bit, Paranoia is back available now, so Hands of God has lost their little window of free.
Sankenyo turns on the Afterburners. Enemy going in on several targets. Has to flash out. Hellbizzle gets destroyed with Omero. Spirit Rush over the wall. It puts down some great damage onto Ari Lover. Ben is by himself. Has to use the flash to get out, and that is going to be a triple kill going over to Omero. Expertly engaged by Trismegetsu.
Yeah, it looked like Hands of God really tried to engage right away onto Antonym. And Antonym, being a very tanky Maokai right now, allowed that to happen, and then enemy was able to re-engage. Sankenya was on the wrong side of the blue buff wall, but just by popping his ult, he was able to run right around, like you said, turn on the afterburners, and really brought it back.
At this point, the vision is just completely stacked around that dragon area. I think both sides were just putting a lot of investment into the dragon pit, wanting to get that third dragon for Hands of God, and then to stop that third dragon. The dragon's steal early on by Ari Lover was definitely pivotal in keeping Hands of God in this game for as long as they had been. But at this point, they're winding down, and Trismegetsu just look like they are only getting stronger. I think Hands of God going to have to switch tactics here and take a look at how they can play on the defensive and make it work to their advantage.
And Trismegetsu is already at this point up about 4,000 gold, which is very nice for a team in their position who's kind of trying to scale into late game, and they're already up as we enter this kind of mid-game point.
You know, Nerdy, we talk a lot about gold advantage. We talk about what it brings to a team, what stages, and at 26 minutes in, a 4,000 gold advantage, that's worth a 10,000 gold advantage at 40 minutes into the game. It is huge at this point, and Hands of God have to respect that power that's coming out from the other side of the map. Anthony going in on the Penguins here, just showing what he's capable of doing. Penguin's going to turn on the Zodius here, but not going to be able to do too much at all. Enemy has just been on top of him this game. It seems like every time the paranoia comes up, he ends up using it to keep his thumb down on top of Penguins. I'd be frustrated at this point.
Yeah, but I think it's really all part of Trismegetsu's plan, because they really, really want that big, huge, beefy frontline Maokai, and they're giving it to him by getting him 8 assists between the teleports and all the roams coming in and the ganks from enemy.
And it shows a lot of patience from Trismegetsu. Yes, they were losing their bottom lane. Yes, on paper, would it have looked like a good idea for Ari Lover to concentrate on that bottom lane to bring them back up to speed? Maybe. But if you take a look at their long-range game plan, it's really worked out well for them, letting your bottom lane lose the control. Ari Lover popping Curse of the Sad Mummy here, and Hands of God are going ham on targets all over the map. Cannon ends up falling there. Ben's going to be the next one up. The net backward not going to be enough to save him. Gingerfied is falling very low here. Antonym going to pick the triple kill up, and at this point, the Maokai is unstoppable. Antonym is doing some work with that tree, and Trismegetsu's plan to get him to unstoppable force status has really worked out. That was a 5 for 2.
And I think a big reason about that is that I think they were really counting on Gingerfied being able to jump in there and assassinate the target. And unfortunately for Hands of God, he was only able to jump in there and almost assassinate Sankenyo. He brought him down to less than a quarter health, but Sankenyo was still able to put down that damage for at least a couple seconds, throw out a Q, a couple of bouncing blade auto attacks, and then he went down. So just that constant damage output from one of the best DPS AD carries in the game was pivotal.
Going back to our gold lead here, 7,000 in favor of Trismegetsu. They command a huge lead at this point. Up in towers, up in gold, up in kills. Only thing they're lacking is dragons, thanks to a great dragon steal from Ari Lover. And they really have positioned themselves very well as they head into the later portions of the game. Not a lot of offensive wards coming out, but I think as their push progresses, they're going to be getting that vision a little bit deeper. The problem for them right now is the top lane is pushing in favor of Hands of God. They're going to need to address that before too long, but they might just be willing to trade inner for inner here. Enemy popping the paranoia, goes in onto Penguin's. Penguin has to use his Zonias. Not going to matter. Came out of that. Got destroyed. Ari Lover in the middle of the fight here. Not where Ari wants to be. The crowd control from TMG is just destroying Hands of God. Ben falling very low here. The ace in the hole, not going to do much. Sankenyo shrugs that one up. shrugs that one off, and Trismegetsu are in a fantastic position to pressure this inner turret. They can even send somebody top to fend off this wave and still pick something up for their efforts. Gingerfi, the only one left alive, and I'm surprised more members of TMG are not going in on this.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Enemy, QJQ, and Sankenya all dropped below half or so. I think a big part of that is that they really focused down the Kennen, and Penguins was again able to, at least before he died, get off that ult, followed by the Zanyas, which is pretty big on Kennen because you get some damage and some CC just so that your team can do a little bit more even if they lose the fight.
It was a great Kennen ult and even better Zanyas. Problem was, right now Penguins is not dealing a lot of damage. He doesn't even have his second item completed. He's 1 in 5. He's managed to keep up in farm to his credit, but unfortunately he's just not the pressuring force in the fight that he wants to be at this stage. Second issue with that fight, his team was not around to take advantage of the stuns that he was going to be putting down while he was inside that Zarya suit. A great ultimate, just not some great follow-up. They're going to try to redeem themselves with the dragon here, but look at this. TMG are coming in for the disrupt here. A lot of damage going on to Hellbizzle. Leona goes in and grabs the kill for her carry. TMG going to be able to pick up the dragon here as Hands of God just forced to back out. Enemy is going in on targets. Ari Lover and Ben is going to have to back out of this one. Ben's still plenty capable of providing a lot of damage, but overall a great fight for Trismegetsu. They pick up one and they just continue their pressure. They are not taking their foot off Hands of God's throats.
So Armero in that fight was able to zone out both Ari Lover and Ben just by standing down by the bottom Tribe Rush and force them back into their infrastructure.
Red team going in hard onto Hands of God here. The hook comes back, pushing QJQ with the play into tower territory. Ari Lover in the middle of two. The enemy and Antonym are in trouble. Enemy gets exhausted. Romero's trying to provide damage from the back line, but Ginger5 gets in there and grabs the shutdown. That is a shutdown across the board. How many shutdowns did we see there? A 4-for-1 exchange. Exactly what Hands of God needed to do. They caught Trismegetsu being greedy.
And that's going to allow them to take the Baron. Very nice. We've seen a couple teams already today try to take Baron without sweeping out the wards. Hands of God is a sweeper and a big one.
They're going to have to be careful to trade aggro here and be very wary of the AoE. The face of the mountain does go down on the Hellbizzle, and they're going to have enough damage to take this one out without anybody having to give up the buff.
That could be very big in these upcoming fights with Baron lane and Explosive Baron team. Even though they're still about 6,000 gold down, they're a force to be reckoned with even at this stage in the game.
I think Trismegetsu need to respect their ability to engage, to pick off targets, and to take advantage of mistakes. And it definitely was a mistake engaging like Trismegetsu did in that last fight. I don't see them making that same mistake twice. I think they got a little bit overconfident. Once they got slapped around a bit by Hands of God, they're taking a look at their situation, probably going, hey, maybe we should ease up just a little bit. They haven't won this game yet.
Yeah, and if you look at the Penguins on Kennen, after that team fight, he was able to complete his third item. He's now sitting on Abyssal Zanya's Rylai's. That's a very nice amount of AP right there.
Good amount of crowd control and team utility as well. That slow is going to be preventing every hard engage aside from the Nocturne from getting to the back line, or at least hindering them on their way to the back line. That's going to leave Ben in safe territory where he likes to be. You take a look at the Maokai build as well. He has, well, we can't say the name. He has the Righteous Glory built, and coupled with the rest of his team's abilities, utility, it's just really scary for Hands of God. Their positioning is going to have to be on point this next fight.
Yeah, I mean, Amara is still pretty big on Ari, but if he can get caught out like happened last fight, then things will turn out pretty well for Hands of God. Lots of kills funneled onto Omero. And another point I'd like to make is that despite what we thought was a pretty good lead in the jungle for Enemy and Ari Lover actually have functionally the exact same build path item-wise. They both have their Enchantment, Aranduin, Spectre's Cowl, and Merc Tread, so they're aiming to do similar things.
That last fight just not going well for Trismegetsu, I think for a number of reasons, other than the fact that they didn't respect the power coming out from Hands of God. It was also a bit disjointed. There were miscommunications on target selection. Softer targets weren't protected by the front line, and I don't see them making that same mistake again, but really, at this point, Hands of God need them to. They need to be patient and wait for it, and while they do, their positioning is just going to have to be on point. It looks like we're gearing up for a turret defense here. TMG should plenty be able to fend this off, and Hands of God got to be careful. I see Trismegetsu putting the Sivir on the hunt on and just bum rushing Hands of God for an ace if they're not careful.
Interesting pickup by Ben, going for the Avarice Blade after the Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer Last Whisper, instead of opting for some lifesteal. He might be going for a static Shiv next, instead of a Bloodthirster.
That certainly would help his team with their wave clear. Not a lot of strong wave clear coming out for Trismegetsu, so static Shiv, pretty good pickup. There's not a lot of split push potential on their side either. Trismegetsu wants to stick around. They want to use the buddy system, stay as a group, and just use their power. They still have the gold advantage power. It wasn't as much as it was earlier in the game, but at 36 minutes, 6,000 gold still ramps up to be quite a big advantage. But they're going to want to press that before the clock runs out. Right now, Hands of God, they're in catch-up mode, but they are catching up. They are closing that gap, and if Trismegetsu doesn't take advantage of what they have right now, while at the same time, of course, respecting Hands of God's ability, then they could see Hands of God coming back into this game. I wouldn't even necessarily call it a throw. I would just call it a shift in dynamic. I really think Hands of God has a good opportunity if they play safe and they don't force a lot of needless, unnecessary engagements to come back in this game and potentially turn things around.
Definitely, and to add to that, on the other hand, though, Trismegetsu could be looking for a fight very soon because Hands of God no longer has their Baron buff. They no longer get that extra AD/AP, those buffed up minions. So that could turn into a win, big or small, for Trismegetsu. Break.
A flash from Penguins is going to start the fight off as he tries to disengage. Ari Lover is in the middle of the group here. Enemy has to back out. He ends up getting blown up. Gingerfied taking tons of damage. Just look at the tanky front line of Trismegetsu. They are canceling targets left and right, deleting them from the map, and Ginger is the next one to fall. That's going to be a triple kill on Trismegetsu. Omero picks that one up, the ace for TMG. They are going to get at least an inhibitor out of this, maybe even some Nexus turrets.
Yeah, they can keep pushing because they have the Sivir with a, at this stage of the game, an 80% attack speed buff while her W is active. That is, it's on like a 5-second cooldown down, so that could turn into definitely at least an inhibitor. That fight, the slicing maelstrom from Kennen really only hit Antonym at the beginning.
Things were played so well by Trismegetsu there. The Baron buff was on Hands of God, and they waited it out. They played safe. Yes, could they have engaged them straight up? Possibly. Could they have won? Possibly. But they didn't risk it. They played on the back foot. They saved their objectives and waited for that timer to expire. As soon as it did, they went in, found their opportunity, and completely cleaned house. Hands of God got to be thinking about what they're going to do at this next stage of the game. That Baron assault might have been their last salvo.
And we were talking about 10,000 gold leads at 40 minutes. That's pretty much where we're at right now.
I don't want to claim to be a prophet or anything. Looks like both sides setting up for the dragon once again, and this third dragon could go over to either side. TMG in firm control of the pit. The vision of the dragon is in place, but Ari Lover does not have an in. He's gonna have to do absolutely nothing. Flash was down there, so he had no engaged way to get in there. Really good dragon from TMG, especially pulling him out there. They were not going to risk Ari Lover bandage tossing over the wall and stealing another one from them.
Yeah, so it looks like the BF sword now picked up by Ben. Looks like he is going for that Bloodthirster. He just wanted an Avarice Blade for his last item. Baron's coming up.
Scuttle Crab being taken out by Hands of God. That is going to be big as the Baron respawns here. They definitely don't want to give this one over. And QJQ picked the wrong bush to face check. That is big for Hands of God. They have the power play now. They know they can force a fight. They even have an opportunity to take a risky Baron here, but it looks like they're going to play it safe.
Probably wise of them, because even without the Leona there, you're still the Nocturne ultimate, not to mention the Ari, Sivir, and Maokai trio of just huge AoE damage at this stage of the game.
And with an inhibitor down and the lane pushed up as much as it was, Trismegetsu even had the opportunity to go in there and just push down the mid lane and trade the win for the Baron. I think overall smart move from Hands of God to take their victory of a support kill and move on with their lives.
Well, right now, top lane is pushing heavily in favor of Hands of God. Bot lane is pushing the other way, but Penguins is headed down there right now. Nobody, as of yet, is up towards the top lane from Trismegetsu to counter that big wave that'll be certainly gigantic by the time it reaches the turret, if not stopped.
It is pushing those minions down, and that is going to be a factor for Trismegetsu to consider as we get further along. Looks like they're sending Sankenyo up top to clear things out. Sankenyo having a surprisingly good game.
Yeah, after that fairly weak laning phase, he really did bring it back.
He had a weak laning phase. Sankenyo has been in China for the past 2 months, I believe, and he has not had a lot of league play time. He's just getting back into it, sort of knocking the rust off. Seeing the engage coming in now. Enemy gets the paranoia onto Ari Lover and catches him out thanks to a great ward that hurts him. He's going to hit a few. Ari Lover looks like he does have an opportunity to get out of this one. No, going to end up falling there. Gingerfied Caesar's thrown to take it out. Omero dashing in, making mincemeat out of the back line. Picks up Ben, and that is going to be the game right there. Trismegetsu end up victorious in the season opener. Penguins trying to do what he can to stave off this assault, but he is in a 5 versus 1 situation. Amazing he stayed alive as long as he had, but the turret just cannon fodder for Trismegetsu.
And Antonym and Enemy at this point are so strong, they could take that tower with no worries themselves.
Well, congratulations, Trismegetsu. I think overall, a very hard-fought game from Hands of God. TMG just had the upper hand throughout the majority of that game and really pressed their advantage. Came through with their solo lanes. Their top lane won, their bottom lane won. It was all around a really good showing for them.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, we are going to be getting into our next game. Stick around. We got more to come. The casters will be back as soon as we get champion select.